Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everybody. This is the second painting in my trilogy set of religious Bible story paintings. This is the Jesus feeding the 5,000 painting, and it is a lot different than the Jesus walking on the water. When the guy that commissioned me to do these paintings first reached out to me, he said the point and the story and the kind of the reason why he wanted the paintings to be the way they were was he wanted them to be abstract so that they could be something that would be a talking point for someone who wasn't necessarily as biblically knowledgeable as a Christian or someone who reads the Bible on a regular basis. So an unbeliever or an atheist would say, "Hey, what is that?" And it would give him the chance, and anyone who was in the room and wanted to talk about it, the chance to explain the story. Well, that didn't really come about in the last painting because it was so outside of my comfort zone, and I kind of tied a little bit better, a little bit closer to what I'm used to as far as realistic and trying to make it look real. So this painting, I decided to be a little bit more on the abstract side, which is way outside of my comfort zone. I was struggling really hard with this painting, mainly because in abstract, one, I don't have any training in it. Zero. I have no training in abstract. I don't really understand how the concept works. A lot of the stuff that is in the abstract genre I don't really like, and so I've never really gravitated towards it in any respect. So I was in totally unfamiliar waters. But one of the things I do know about abstract is the line between where it needs to be and too far is just totally invisible. I don't know where that is. And I was very nervous that was going to be something that I was going to end up doing and going way too far. And I may have done it, I don't know. But I got it to a place I feel like that it was at least okay. But the composition and the reference photo that I used was actually another painting. I really don't like to do that most of the time because I'm basically copying someone else's work. But this was kind of the foundation of what my client wanted me to do. And so this is the original painting that I copied it from. Now this painting is actually watercolor. And so the techniques that they use to get the drippage down the canvas in the long body forms of the people that are closer to the viewer were just gravity. They used the water to try to drip it down like it was melting down. Now, obviously I can't do that because I'm using acrylics and I'm using solid paints. Now, if I wanted to, I could turn the painting to liquid and do it that way, but I kind of wanted it to be a little bit different, and I wasn't trying to copy the actual painting. I was just using it as a reference and kind of putting my own twist on it and style. So the way this turned out was just slightly different, and I wouldn't normally do this if I was selling a painting just on my website kind of thing, but the way that this came out was kind of more along the lines of what he wanted. And so when you're working for a client, it's kind of like what they want comes first versus anything else. But the biblical story that I derived this from, for anyone who doesn't know and is not familiar, there in the scriptures, I'm not exactly sure in what chapter it is, but in any of the four gospels, Jesus was teaching 5,000 people. Well, in the old times, in biblical days, you only counted the men in numbering. So there was 5,000 men, but there could have been each one of those men having a family. So it could have easily been between 5,000 and 20,000, depending on if they had kids or not. So the number range is pretty wide. And the story is the disciples came to Jesus and were like, "These people don't have food, send them away so that they can eat." Which, I mean, if you think about it, that's a lot of people. If they all descended on one town to get food, that would be pretty crazy for the people in the town that they descended to, because that's a lot of people. It's like an army. Well, there was a little kid who had 5 loaves and 2 fish. And the story is he gave Jesus the 5 loaves and 5 fish, or 2 fish, and said, "I don't have much, but this is what I have." And Jesus blessed it and gave it to his disciples and told them, "Hey, go take this to the people and feed the people." When they got done, there was 12 baskets of leftovers, scraps and things that people hadn't eaten. And that was one of Jesus's miracles, that he was able to feed the 5,000, taking something that was, in our sense, if you gave me five loaves and 2 fish and told me to feed 5,000 people, it would probably go to one person, and that would be it, because I don't have that ability. Well, Jesus was able to multiply that, and that's a lot of sermons and things have been used to describe that, as Jesus will take whatever you have, as long as you offer it willingly, and as long as your heart is in the right place and you want to do something for God, he will take whatever you have and multiply it. And so it's a really awesome story, and I would encourage you to read it if you haven't read it. But the point behind this painting, as far as composition and making it something that I was actually willing to pause on and say, hey, this is where I'm done, was really difficult for me, because again, I was so out of my comfort zone as far as abstract goes. But it was really fun, because it's always fun to kind of get out of the normal lane of what you're comfortable doing and experiment with something different, because you always learn something when you do that. And the one thing that you can learn from doing abstract is where you thought you had to get something as far as detail may not actually be that. And you can put something on the canvas that's not as crystal clear, and it will still be what it needs to be to get the point across. And that's something I've always really admired with impressionistic artists, which is kind of where the other painting, the Jesus walking on the water painting, wound up, was more on the impressionistic side. But that I have a problem with going too far with paintings and obsessing over detail and trying to make it look as crystal clear as possible, when I'm still learning on when to stop and when to say, hey, this is done. I'm done with this painting. And that's the cross and the nemesis of every artist, is saying, okay, I'm done. I'm going to back away from this because I've got it to the best that it can be. And that's always something that's really, really difficult. Now, the third painting is going to be coming out probably next week, and it is the Jesus and the Lost Sheep, and I think you'll enjoy that one too. So if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. I normally don't tell people to do that because that annoys me, but every once in a while I do that just as a reminder. It's a good way to support my channel, and yeah, so and you get notified when I post a new video, which I try to do relatively frequently. So anyway, thank you for watching this video, and I guess I will see you next time. Leave a comment and tell me what you think, because this one was definitely different than what I'm used to. All right, later, guys.